Hello, my name is Rosario Macario from the Lisbon Technical University, and I'm here to present you one of the research projects that is being developed under the framework of the Bus Rapid Transit Center of Excellence that is funded by the Volvo Research and Education Foundation. This project is dedicated to explore the complexity of policy design, and in fact policy design is a complex and complicated issue to develop. Policy is largely built up of different measures and different sets of measures that are articulated with the different elements of the systems, and by this combination we do have normally very complex outcomes. So combination of sectorial policies and measures are normally used to achieve cumulative positive results. Very often these results do require a time lag to be implemented and another time lag to be obtained to obtain the effects that will contribute to the improvement of the system. And it is in this process and in this complex process that we aim to obtain a better design of policy packaging. That is, to understand what are the best measures to be packed together and what are their synergetic effects. So our motivation is to improve the design of the policies, understand better what are the synergetic effects between the different measures that are involved within a policy package, enhance the public acceptability and the measures and the methods to obtain this, and although not being a problem, it is still a challenge, the fact that implementation of integrated strategies do require public agents to come together and to negotiate agreements on what will be their share of intervention. This conciliation process is not easier than building the package itself. And so also here we will address this problem and understand to what extent can this relation, this cooperative relation between the agents contribute to the performance of the policy design and of the policy packages. So the ultimate goal of this project is to understand the decision-making process that is behind upstream and downstream the BRT systems operations, and to develop a formal structure that will enable us to understand in a retrospective analysis how performant is each measure and how performant is each measure when put together with another one in a policy package. So finally, we will aim to develop a systems dynamics model that will allow us to simulate the results of a policy measure and to understand from the outset what can be the likely effects of a policy design and to test and improve it this way. This project is not alone within our Center of Excellence. In fact, it is strongly related with two other projects. A set of 3 projects will address this problem of decision-making, institutional effects and performance of the system. We have one project that is dedicated to institutional design, we have another project dedicated to system performance, and we have this project dedicated to decision process and policy making. So the 3 together will enable us to understand the links between policy design, institutional setting and performance of the system. Basically, we will address very different types of policies, as it is the situation normally in the real world. We will define policies as public initiatives that are developed in different areas of responsibilities, with specific purposes and using measures as the main instruments of intervention. And our definition of measure is thus the one of an instrument that is more than one, that can be used by more than one policy and that can be used in different areas, like for instance land use areas, transport policy, energy policy, fiscal policy, innovation and technology. So all these are areas where the actions and the measure taken can cause synergetic effects that can be either positive or negative in the results and in the performance of the systems. So in literature, normally we can find a very blurred definition and distinction between what are policies and what are measures. And so here we try to, from the outset, to establish that difference. policies do imply areas of responsibility in the government initiative, and measures are the instruments to implement those interventions. So in the real world, what we have understood already is that we have a multi-agent complex setting of institutions, some of which are hierarchically related, and some of which have absolutely no hierarchical relation and work in independent sectors. However, their actions and the effects of their actions are extremely synergetic. For instance, energy, land use, and transport are typically three areas where the actions taken in one sector do have an influence in the other sector. So policy packaging means very often cherry picking some components and governed by these different public areas, and sometimes it calls for negotiation and agreement whenever there is no clear hierarchical distinction. What is our method of research? What we will do is that we will use a set of case studies and where retrospective analysis of the various interplaying policy components can be done. We will look at the past measures taken and policy packaging developed, and we will try to understand what have been the barriers to policy design, what have been the effects and causes for policy underperformance. We will use these inductive case studies to devise and to grasp these relations and hopefully find some qualitative and also quantitative relations that will allow us to enhance our knowledge in what are the effects between these policy measures and the resulting packages and the resulting outputs of the system. To support our analysis, we will have a very ambitious piece in this project, which is to develop a simulation model, a systems dynamic model to support the design of policy package. So a model that will allow us to have a preliminary perspective and understanding of what can be the effect of two measures put together in a given environment. And so this will be based on a systems dynamics approach. Many policies can be tested and many policies can be envisaged, but basically from what we have understood that has been taken so far in the real world, we have some clearly defined groups of policy. We have lifestyle-oriented measures, and these are typically basic elements which aim to change the attitude towards mobility and material consumption. Then we have some other group, which is the market-oriented measures, and these are the ones that largely relate with the public acceptance of price elements and as a mechanism to allocate services and goods. And then we have regulatory-oriented measures, which basically try to address regulatory change, technical standards, and norms. So it is a rather rationalist approach. However, it is tempered with strong participatory process that are more intense in some countries, in some continents than in others. And also here we will have to grasp on the role of this argumentative element and of this interaction with the public on the participatory process and how much it contributes to a better performance of the system and a better performance of the interventions and the quality of the policy design. Finally, another set of measures that will be tested will be the provision of public infrastructure and public transport services. This is often adopted as a policy approach and seen as associated with regulatory-oriented policies. It is of extreme importance not only because of the financing capacity, but also because of their role into the whole system. There are some critical elements, and one of the critical elements is the ability to effectively assess performance and to relate these elements of policy and the measures with the outcome performance of the system. And this is one of the main challenges. And one of the challenges related to this is the interaction between the decision levels. That is, to what extent a decision taken at the strategic level can influence the performance outcome at the operational level. And so also here we will address this vertical consistency between the policy making and the relation between the policy making and the operational outcome. We will devise feedback cycles. So feedback cycles will be monitoring elements that will allow us as privileged instruments to understand how can we fine-tune the system, how can we improve it, how can we adjust it to a better performance. And this has to be done continuously, but we have to ensure that we are using indicators that will measure what we are really aiming to monitor and to pursue as objectives. We have, in fact, three main pillars in this project, and these three main pillars are very important across the whole project: decision-making processes, policy and packages of measures, and agents' behavior. These are the three main pillars that will be analyzed under different circumstances or scenarios, if we want to call it. We will look at situations where the decision-making is done over the own process of the decision maker. We will look at processes where the decision making is lying on the approval of the processes that are under the authority of third parties. And we will be looking at processes which are in-house of the own decision maker. And so it will be this matrix between ownership of decision and ownership of processes that will set the borders of our analysis and of our intervention in terms of packages and policies. The work in practical terms will be divided into 7 building blocks. And we have started by an extensive literature review that led us to the formulation of this approach. The next stage will be an exploratory survey through which we will be selecting a number of case studies. And case studies is the most adequate method, or the only possible method, to study this type of issues related with policy decision making. It will allow us the real environment, it will allow us the retrospective view over what happened in the past, decisions that have been taken, constraints that have been set upon those decisions, and what have been the results after a considerable time of maturation of the measures. So we will have one building block of work dedicated to inductive case studies. Then we will develop our analytical model that is aimed to become an instrument in the future, and based on that analytical model we will be able then to transfer these results into the validation done through deductive case studies. So we will confront our model with another set of cities and we will validate the model, and out of this we will be hopefully able to provide guidelines on policy packaging for BRT systems. Across the whole project and across the whole case studies that we will be analyzing, we will have a permanent interaction with the 2 other projects, so that we can ensure that at the end we have decision-making process, institutional design, and performance monitoring well aligned into what we want to be the outcomes of this research area and of this research program. A set of cities that you can see in the table and in the slide that it is in the table that is in the slide. We will have a set of preliminary choice of cities that will be used for as inductive case studies. Out of this we will evolve into other sets of case studies, and we hope that at the end we will be able to provide sound guidelines for policy making and design in BRT systems within urban mobility systems. Thank you.